Welcome to another episode of Australia's own ag show, A Little Bit Agricultural. This series is about celebrating the life on the land and the produce which comes off it. Last week it was nuts. Pecan nuts, in fact, as we explore the Guardia Valley and the Moree region.
Moree has a great climate for pecans. We have the heat hours through summer, but we also get enough chill hours through the winter that pecans also require.
There's a bit to this pecan growing. So next time you eat a pecan nut, just know that there's been plenty of thought go into it.
There's a bit of work involved behind the scenes, mate, for sure.
It really is. It's a very sustainable practice that can go on for generation and generation and generation, producing healthy pecans.
Yeah, for your caramel sugar-coated.
Aye.
Nuts were fun, but let's face it, the major crops in this area are cotton and grains. So what better way to learn about them than heading out to the field with a team of local agronomists?
Now, if you don't know what an agronomist is, you're not alone.
Agronomy, is that just basically trying to get more from less? Is that what you're doing? Is that why a farmer would get you in?
Oh my God. Yeah, why would they? Why would they? Why did I study 4 years?
That's right.
So what we're trying to do is, get the most that we can out of the soil, but keep it in good shape. Someone just commented how clean this paddock is. That's my job. So we're looking after the weeds in this paddock to try and make sure we don't have weeds blowing out, so that all our moisture, all our nutrients go into grain to make bread. It's not a disease crop, so we keep an eye on diseases, we keep an eye on pests.
So old mate farmer, who just gets his work going and then goes on a holiday to Europe with his family over winter.
Yeah.
But you're the guys in
one
the
of those.
You're the guys in the paddock, making sure it's all good.
Yeah. So we're like I don't know what you call it, pseudo farm managers sometimes.
Pretty much.
We have had to send messages to Canada and Europe.
Yes, I don't doubt it.
We are going to have to do this now. Yeah, righto, mate. 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, just go ahead.
Well, I think
we've got an awesome bunch of growers that we work with. They're a lot of fun. Some of them even ride motorbikes. So I'll jump on the bike and check with them. Some of my favourite times, riding through the mud and pulling each other out of bog holes.
Why wouldn't you want to be an agronomist?
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to be an agronomist?
so. Wheat. What else have we got?
So we grow, on this farm we'll grow chickpeas, canola, a bit of barley, sorghum. So all grain crops at this stage. Chickpeas, they're like, most of them are international commodities, but as much as we can, obviously, we're growing what we need in Australia, and then the rest goes overseas. So sorghum's mostly like a cattle feed or chook feed.
Yep.
This is prime hard bread wheat, so that's going into your best bread. Like the higher the protein, the more the loaf rises up. So that's why we grow bread wheat, we grow durum wheat. Just across the river there, we've got a heap of irrigated cotton, so we're growing cotton with our water there. We grow corn, all sorts of things.
A lot of stuff comes from this area, doesn't it?
Really productive area. Yep.
Tony works for AMPS Agribusiness, which specialises in agronomy service, crop research and farm supplies, and he had his team with him today.
Agronomy looked like the path I wanted to go, just getting a mixture of different farms, not being locked into one, and getting a broader knowledge of the whole ag system, really. Like, we're lucky we've got good growers that they're understanding, and a lot of them are quite knowledgeable. That's the biggest thing. I reckon I learn more from them every day than I teach them. And it's more about having the discussion with them and thinking out of the square together to come down to one solution.
You start out here and you go through a season and you realise what you've learned from that season, but then there's never a season the same. You'll always see something different. I'm going to be an agronomist for a long time, but I'm always going to be learning, if you know what I mean, which I'm excited about. I love it.
There's jobs everywhere. It's a pretty forgiving industry, really. Like, if you're willing to have a go, there's probably 30 or 40 jobs you could find within a week here in Moree, just on a farm, irrigating, driving a tractor. And the only way to get into it is have a go, and everyone's more than welcome to accommodate people with no experience if they want to get into it.
All this sexy farming chat really caught Oscar's attention, and the fact Tony liked motorbikes was a match made in heaven.
Where'd you find that?
I found her in Sydney, actually, which was awful. I mean, you shouldn't find a farm bike like this in Sydney, so I got her the hell out of there as quick as I could. She's robust, she's good, she'll take me anywhere, and she definitely won't break down.
That's it's looking very original, mate. Like, I think that handlebar has never been changed out. The exhaust pipe has never been souped up. But hey, if it works, it works.
Yep.
2 wheels beats 4 anytime, mate.
Yep, she'll get me around.
Watch this. Ta-da. Now move.
I can't tell you how excited Oscar is. Not only, is he heading off on Alba the First, he's found a fellow agronomist who he looks longingly into his eyes. It's sort of like Tony seems to be almost like Oscar's work dad or something. And Tony's decided to ride a bike as well. Oscar is so excited. He's also a little bit nervous that he doesn't sort of stuff up in front of his mentor. But no, this will be good. We're going to see lots of farms. First one's quite a ways down the road here, so we'll be there shortly. I believe it's wheat, grain, they call it in the business, in the ag business, grain, going grainy. Unfortunately, Oscar's bike had other ideas.
He was right after he was running. She was going perfectly.
Let's go. You're not getting to a farm today, mate.
Oh, she was so good.
Hop on the back of Tony.
When do we need to push it?
Oh! Rugby's only little, you can give him a dink.
Yeah, we'll throw him on. I don't know, what's this, like 2K?
You've gone 2 kilometres.
It's piss and fuel.
Oh,
That's a small problem. She's pouring out. It's turned into a Molotov cocktail.
Alright, dumper. Rev it a little bit. Oh, no grip there. Alright, go.
I think Tony needs to join the crew.
Eventually, we made it to the first location, just south of Moree, to a farm near the end of its wheat harvest.
Don't want a bit of pressure at the moment, mate. We've got that storm hanging there and trying to get the last of this paddock off before it rains. We would love to see the rain though, because if you can see here, there's cracks about 50 millimetres wide. We've had very little rain in this season, so the crop's a bit light. This is bread wheat, so that's where your bread comes from.
Yeah, right.
Give that a little rub and you've got grains there that you can crunch on. They're nice and dry.
What's an ideal amount of rain for a winter wheat crop like this?
We'd love to see an average season, but they don't happen. So like 150, 200 mils of growing season rain, we call it, would be perfect. We're about a 600 mil average rainfall per annum here. In 2019, we got 97 millimetres, so we didn't even hit 100 mils. It was a raging drought at the end of the 3-year drought. And I think in 2021, he probably had a metre of rain here.
Yeah,
so
wow.
It's a big pendulum, that rainfall.
Yeah, so average doesn't exist.
We call this the open air casino. It's a socially acceptable way of gambling. We put crops in the ground and we lay our bets, and then 6 months later we find out what we're actually going to have a win or have a loss, or what's going to happen.
What can you tell me about the soil we're standing on? What kind of
beautiful?
What formed this?
Yeah, beautiful black alluvial soil. So it's called a vertisol, which means it's been laid down vertically, but it's come out of the hills and it's washed down the river. So a lot of this is a silty type deposition, really deep soil. So we've grown this crop basically on stored moisture from what was left of that flood moisture last year. So a crack that wide would tell you that this is dry down to about 1.20 metres, 1.30 metres. So it's probably held 200 mils of available moisture in that profile.
Yeah.
And the wheat's the roots of the wheat have grown right down and extracted as much as they can, obviously. And then
the roots will get down to a metre or so?
Yeah, past a metre.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. We'd say we're one of the most productive shires in the country in terms of the product that comes out of here. So we've got irrigation that fuels a large area of irrigated crop, grain and oilseed and fibre production. We still do have livestock in the area. It used to be a powerhouse for wool production, but a lot of that's reduced and is increased in farming. And then just the grain crops that we grow, the pulses, oilseeds and grains that we grow. I don't know what the value of the produce out of this area is, but it's a lot. You know, it could be $1 billion.
Unfortunately, just as we turned up, it started to rain, meaning harvest would have to wait. It was also no good if you're on a bike.
And who would want to be in the paddock in one of those? Like, who wants to be in a ute when
That's
you
right.
could
I
be-
mean,
or
they
even
have to put artificial climate on. And
even a header or a tractor when you could be in a motorbike enjoying the outside.
Yeah, it's really raining now, which is not a problem for me. Those boys though. And the thing is, they're refusing to get in the car. They're actually refusing to get in the car because they're, you know, men and whatever else. Oh, hang on, here we go. What's happening here? Hang on. What? Oh no, didn't lock the doors. What are you doing? I thought you were refusing to get in the car.
I'm just
You're all wet.
just
Where's your bike?
out the back.
Let's just talk about this for a minute. So, what's happened is it's pissing now with rain.
I've got to go get back on the bike. I was just coming in to talk to you.
No, come on. All right then, out you go. Thing was though, you're all manly. No, I'm not getting in the car. No, I'm not getting in the car. And you've made all my car wet.
No, it's not my fault. We're on farm,
We are on a farm, that is
and
true.
it hasn't rained for 3 months.
No, I was just saying, it's if you want to break a drought or
Organise a filming shoot.
create a drought, whatever the opposite is, bring a camera along. So anyway, no, this is good. Look at this. Reverse camera. Oh, there's the bike.
Don't give it away.
Much to Hardy's delight, we got back on the road at a decent pace. Next stop, a linseed field.
This allowed Oscar to get all down and dirty like a real agronomist. It was also an example of the challenges faced by farmer and agronomist every day and the never-ending guessing game in broadacre dryland farming that is the weather.
What can you tell me about linseed?
Righto, mate. Linseed's an oil seed. It's one of our rotation crops. So we use it a heap of different crops in rotation. Linseed's used for oil and used for baked goods. What's happening in these paddocks, we've got this paddock was fallowed for longer, so it grew a crop, you know, a year and a half ago. Planted linseed and we had a bit of moisture there for it to grow. This paddock only grew sorghum last summer, so we've kept the sorghum stubble as a soil protection, and then we've planted through that, and you can see we established the crop. But that's about as far as it got. It didn't rain, so that's actually died, that crop. So
Right,
we
so
won't,
that's
we
a
won't
crop
be
fail.
harvesting that. Yep.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Yep. So 40 mils just wasn't enough for the whole season.
Did you sow that crop at the same time as this paddock here?
No. We knew this one had moisture, so we went in a bit earlier. And then we saw a forecast for rain coming, so we went in and planted that dry. And it rained enough out of that forecast, maybe 15 mils, I think, to germinate it and get the crop up, and then it just didn't rain again. Yeah. She's all over for that one. Ground cover, we call that.
Yeah, well.
Some people might call it a cover crop. Then over here in this linseed, we've actually put one of our research trials in. So we're really keen to always learn, you know, about new varieties or new techniques or new products or anything we can to lift our growers' productivity. We're pretty excited because there's a variety in here that topped the trial last year in a really wet year. And we thought, oh yeah, it's just going to work in wet years, but it's come second in the trial this year in a dry year.
Yeah, right.
So we may have found a new variety. We have not had a new linseed variety for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So we're pretty pumped about having some new varieties to test.
Linseed is also known as flax and is used as a food, fodder and fibre. Textiles made from linseed are called linen, as we're all familiar with, apart from maybe Andrew.
Amy, you are a research agronomist, which means you're doing agronomy incorporating trials, and here we are standing in amongst one of your trials. It's a variety trial and a herbicide trial. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do here and what you're hoping to learn?
When we're here, we take measurements of the linseed. We also take note of how many weeds and things are around, just to eliminate weed pressure in this area. It's a variety trial, so we're learning about different varieties in these conditions.
How many varieties would you have in this trial?
There's probably about 9 or so different varieties, maybe. Yeah.
And this crop is just about ready for harvest?
Yes,
here.
just about ready.
So you're going to come and harvest these independently, are you? So
Yes.
how will you do that?
Yep, so we'll use our little trial plot harvester.
Yeah.
And it'll go through and independently harvest each plot as it's going along. We'll stop and start again, sort of thing, and make sure there's no contamination and stuff like that.
Yeah, nice. Ah, cool.
Both Amy and Tony introduced plant breeding and variety trials. And in this series, I want to look at plant breeding a lot, as it is absolutely key to the success and sustainability of agriculture. Tony will tell us more shortly, but I'll never miss an opportunity to highlight the importance of plant genetics.
While Oscar talked more science, with a still hobbling bike, we headed out of the linseed crop and onto an irrigated cotton farm, and it sure was something to see.
Mate, this is the engine room. This is irrigated agriculture at its best, at its most efficient.
Right, Tony, agronomy in sorghum, what are you looking for? What are you doing when you come out and look at the paddock?
Oh, at this stage, mate, we're looking to see it's established well, it's tillering well. We're also looking at the colour of the crop. This one's just had a foliar fertiliser. We thought it was a bit low on zinc, so we put some zinc over the top. So way down the bottom of that plant now is the flower, and it just gradually works its way out. So when that sorghum's about this high, it'll pump out a big flower, fill that grain, and that will feed cows, chooks, turkeys, whatever you want to feed with it. It's a really good grain.
Yeah.
The sorghum is used as a rotation crop to give the cotton fields a rest, but it's a pretty valuable crop in itself, used as a grain for food, animal fodder, and even used in alcohol and biofuel. But cotton is the main game here. Although we arrived at the beginning of the growing season, meaning there's not many pretty pictures, but that doesn't stop two agronomists from getting excited.
How has practices in cotton management and cotton agronomy changed over the years?
Compared to 25 years ago, we are using 98% less chemical to grow this cotton. So 98% less synthetic product in terms of insecticide mainly, but also herbicide. We're using less herbicide than we used to produce a crop that's probably 50% higher yielding. So
yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like we've had a massive improvement in the genetics. So CSIRO is our cotton breeder nationally. So the breeding they put into these plants to make them produce another 50% yield. We're using 50% less water to do that now. So we've become a lot more efficient from an engineering point of view as well, and a agronomic point of view.
And that water story is a lot of that's to do with the engineering, the landscaping and the irrigation channels and how they're all constructed.
Yeah, so just trying to minimise losses through the whole system. So that's the first part of it. It's, finding out if you've got a leaky ditch or drain and sealing it up, not overwatering paddocks, so you've got a whole heap of water to recirculate around the farm, like just putting on the right amount of water that the crop needs. So part of it's the engineering solution. The other part is just the efficient way that this plant with its new genetics actually uses the moisture that's in the ground. So, if we get the nutrition right, the insect management, we manage the weeds. So you can see a few little weeds coming up here from that irrigation that brought the cotton up. Well, they'll be taken out. So we're just putting all those goodies go into that crop, producing 12, 14, 16 bales a hectare of lint, and that's a really high value crop now. So, I mean, this could be sorghum, it could be corn, it could be any crop that the grower wants to grow with the water and the land that he's got. But at the moment, cotton's one of our more productive and profitable crops to grow.
I just wanted to emphasise the genetics and plant breeding for all crops, really. I mean, we looked at earlier in the linseed, the variety trials going on, but how important plant genetics are. And you can give yourself such a massive leg up with improved genetics.
Yep.
And I mean, this crop, your improved genetics, all that science, all that work that's gone into this has reduced your chemical spraying over the crop by an enormous amount, increased your water efficiency and your nutrient use efficiency and your pest and disease resistance. So, I mean, we should be emphasising good plant genetics wherever we can, can't we? Shouldn't
we? Certainly. And Australia has, I think, and I've travelled a little bit around the world, some of the best cotton genetics in the world.
Yeah, well.
So our base genetics came from California in the last, I guess in the 60s when the seed was brought over, and a group of Californian growers came over here and actually started this modern cotton industry that we've got in Australia. But if you go back to the States now, and I went back recently and I looked at some of the cotton they were growing and I went, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to plant those plants. So, and they're asking us, like, how do you grow 16 bales or 15 bales a hectare? And well, there's probably a few things we're doing that are a bit different. And part of the reason for that is that we are, as we've talked about today, like this is a very open, competitive farming environment. We're not protected in any way by insurance or government, etc. So, whereas an American grower has a very good insurance policy, if his crop fails, he gets paid.
Yeah, well.
If our crop fails, we go hungry. And that drives you to innovate and it drives you to be more efficient. So it's great to be a leader in something, eh?
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
You want to be on it?
Get on it. Get on it.
Oh, we're off.
You're not going to ride back.
I would absolutely ride back.
Why? Okay.
Well,
here's your opportunity.
we've got
Plenty
these
of
guys.
daylight there.
These guys have been very generous with their time. We've got to go back to the office and look at some satellite photos. I'm not going to waste their time. Otherwise, I'd happily ride back.
Will we let him ride back? We'll go back to the office.
Yeah, we could get some work done while we're waiting for
This
it.
is what you live for. You ride back.
All right. See you later.
At a top speed of what? 62.
Oh, come on, don't push it.
Back in the office, it became clear that not all of an agro's work is in the paddock. The technology these days making their life a little easier.
We are looking at a photograph, colour photograph from the satellite on that date, back when it was a bit greener. That is wheat, that's barley, that's mustard. Have I got this right? That's canola, and that was chickpeas.
Yeah, right.
So wholly bit different crops grown on a cotton paddock from last year that was pretty poor performer because it had root disease. The accessibility of data and how we process it's a big change. We can get a satellite image of this farm in our whole district every couple of days and be looking for change in any crops or looking for where in the paddock to go. Like we're on a 600 hectare paddock here, so you know, where do you start looking? You don't look in the same spot all the time if things are changing. So before we come out here, we might look at the satellite image and go, oh, there's something funny going on down in that corner of the paddock, so we'll go and have a look there.
Now next time on A Little Bit Agricultural, we leave the science behind and meet a couple of local farmers from the very, very big.
We've had a very strong reputation of having some of the highest quality cotton in the world and the cleanest cotton.
Big shed and a lot of cotton seed.
To a family-owned operation.
I'd always sort of liked the look of this part of the world, and it looked like country for a good price, and now we're here.
And yep, the bike comes along for a ride.
Oh!